You are listening to You and the Truth, where we will give you the truth face to face. Now, what you do with it is up to you.
Hey, everybody, this is Elpin, and I am here today with Jason Rodriguez, and we're going to talk artificial intelligence. All right. I'll introduce you to Jason in just a second. Let him take over. Just so you'll know, I am totally ignorant when it comes to artificial intelligence. I have trouble with my own intelligence. All right. And there's so much of this crap that I just don't understand. But the fact is that it's a big deal right now. Artificial intelligence, at least it's in the limelight. So let's not belabor this thing. Jason, great to have you with me, man.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. So here we go. Jason, I would imagine that most people like me, the only thing they know about artificial intelligence is what they've seen in the movies.
Yeah.
Because you see all this crap, AI and all that stuff, little robots and crap like that. Tell us what AI is. Give us an idea.
So you've already been experiencing AI for many years without realizing it. Remember when Pong first came out? The two paddles.
Right. Okay.
And the ball going in between. So that's a program. It's almost like very rudimentary AI. It's responding to what the user is doing and trying to counter it. And really from there, now we have flight simulators. We have, very advanced computer games, and all of those are different levels of AI. But we've gotten to the point where we have true machine learning and machine intelligence, which can rival our own intelligence at this point. So there's a new AI that's basically sweeping the internet. It's extremely popular right now, and it's called ChatGPT. And what's different about ChatGPT is you can literally ask questions to this thing and it spits out very complicated responses. And you can write it a paragraph and a half of question and information. Like, I want you to write me a paper about Christopher Columbus and his impact on natives in Haiti. And I want you to give me proper sources in APA format. I need, let's say, 500 words, and you hit enter, and guess what's going to happen? It just starts writing, and it all starts coming out, and your paper is done, and you can turn it in. And when your professor runs it through the plagiarism tester, it comes out no plagiarism, right? Because it was a brand new written document. So
can I stop you right there and ask you a quick question? Maybe you don't know. I'm not sure. What happens? Different people are let's say you get 10 people that go and ask the same question. What's going to happen?
It will respond differently depending on, you'd have to write the exact same question and be within a couple of minutes of each other for it to spit out something that's almost the same. It's almost like if you wrote a paper on Christopher Columbus and then maybe an hour later I ask you to write another one. It's not going to be the same. It'll be similar, right? So imagine, let's say a day later, with millions of people asking it different questions and it learning from different inputs that it's receiving, and you ask it the exact same question, it's going to spit out a different paper because it's learned so much more. So for it to be almost identical, it's just, what are the chances,
Yeah. Do you have a definition of what artificial intelligence is?
So I had my own definition, but I decided it would be a lot more useful for this podcast to ask ChatGPT what its definition of AI was. So here is artificial intelligence according to ChatGPT. Artificial intelligence, AI, is a field of computer science and engineering focused on creating machines that can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence, such as recognizing speech, making decisions, understanding natural language, and recognizing patterns in data. AI encompasses a range of techniques, including machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, and computer vision, among others. So it can basically do almost anything that we can do, just not physically.
Right. I don't want to put you on the spot, but just off the top of my head, it would seem to me like, where does the information that AI get, where does it come from? It has to come from the mind of someone, from a human mind. It just can't materialize from another
Right.
machine because machines are created by humans.
Exactly.
So it doesn't even make sense to me. How do we know that the what is being spouted out by this machine is actually true? Because if it originates from a human mind, the human
Yeah.
mind is very fallible. Therefore, it's just like going online and doing some research online. But most kids nowadays, they go online and they get all their research from Google or whatever search engine they use.
Hmm.
But they don't even know where that knowledge is coming from.
Right.
So they don't know if what they're getting is accurate. You see where I'm coming from?
Yep. There's an entire team just for ChatGPT that's dedicated to providing it with more data sets. So approved data sets. Okay. And then from there is where it starts cross-referencing and getting data and new information.
Yeah, I can see where facts would come in. But see, look, when it comes to this, I'm just a pessimist because,
Oh no, I love where you're going with this.
right, you understand that.
So
The information that is fed
mhm,
into a computer is information that comes from the human mind.
yeah.
Therefore, by nature, it is fallible. It's not a hard fact. Here, it talks about recognizing speech. I can understand that. I can recognize speech.
Mhm.
I know when Chinese is, I know when Spanish is Spanish and English is English. It's probably a little bit more refined than that, what they can do. Understanding natural languages. I can understand that. You probably can, and most people can. Um, Making decisions. How can a machine make a decision? Hell, we as human beings don't have the
Yeah.
capacity to make, we can all make decisions, but most of them are bad decisions.
They could
You
be
see
hard
where
to
I'm
make.
coming from?
Yeah.
So I just, anyway, I
And
just thought I'd throw that out there.
no, and something that you're tiptoeing around too is bias.
There you go.
So, yeah, like just this week, it was all over the internet. It hit the news that ChatGPT leans left. So, the programmers, the team that's controlling it, you can ask ChatGPT to write a poem about how great Donald Trump is, and it'll give you, I'm just an AI, I can't do things like that, whatever, whatever.
You're right.
But then you ask it to do the same thing about Joe Biden, and it gives you sonnets. So,
All right, that's it. Look, you totally blown this thing apart. I, Dude, I'm sorry, man. I just see my point of view is anything that man touches,
mhm.
sooner or later they'll screw it up
Yeah. Well,
because
I'm
it's
not
our
saying by
nature.
any means that this is a good thing, or a bad thing. It could be used for
Mhm.
good and evil, just like almost anything else in this world. And
Right.
it does some pretty amazing things. But like, just to take it back to kind of some of the other things that we use AIs in. Like if you think about home automation, right? So something as simple as setting your AC to turn on at a certain time, or once it gets warmer than a certain temperature and your AC kicks on, that's a form of AI. But then you can take that up a notch when it comes to, hey, Alexa, turn on the lights in the kitchen, right? That's another level. And then they even have it where you can have your front door unlock itself so that somebody can come in. You could set the alarm remotely. All of those are different levels of AI, but think of your vehicles now. If you leave if you're swerving around, maybe you're not paying attention, you're texting, you have lane departure warning. The car in front of you brakes really hard, your car is going to brake for you. You look at Tesla and they're self-driving, self-parking. All of those are different levels of AI, and technically, like, those don't sound bad. Now, unless, all of a sudden you have a tyrannical government and they're like, where's this guy at? And they can follow you in your car, shut your car off. Now you see how it can go bad. Same thing. It doesn't have to be a government. It could just be a hacker that doesn't like you, or, they want you gone for some reason and they turn the wheel this way and you crash. So it's like anything else in this world. It could be a good thing, but it can be used for evil. And it's such a powerful evil
Mm.
that it's scary.
But that
So,
doesn't surprise me, Jason, because man has an evil mind.
yeah,
I mean,
inherently
we're all
evil.
evil. We're all capable of doing something very evil. But here's the thing: when you talk about turning on the lights, performing certain functions, mechanical functions. These are all mechanical in nature. They don't require a certain amount of
Thought.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Something just triggers that because it's a mechanical function. Turn on the light, turn off the light. All that kind of stuff. You're veering into a certain lane. There's certain, but it doesn't require the AI to actually come up with a theory or opinion
Right.
or think.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, it would probably, you know what, it may be even be better to have artificial intelligence be able to do all that, because man certainly can't do it.
Yeah.
We have screwed that up for years.
Yes, we
So,
have.
but you see where I'm saying? What, do you know, or maybe you can do some research as to when this thing took a turn and started actually thinking for man?
So in programming, one of the most simplest ways of having your program, or in this case your AI, make some sort of a decision, they're called if-then statements. And it could be simple as, if the car leaves the lane, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bring it back, do this, right?
Okay.
And that's just a simple if-then statement. So if you have a very complex series of those, where you can even end up in, they're called matrices. I don't know if you remember from math, right? And they have all kinds of different inputs.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you get to this decision making. And we've actually had this for years. So like one of the things, I have a section here in my notes, new frontiers. So this is, ways that it's being used that we think is new. And the very first one I have here is in the news. Have you ever pulled up a news article and you read the whole thing? You're like, wow, that was a great article, or that was interesting. I can't believe this person thinks this. And then you can't find the author. There's no author listed. So this is something, this has been coming up in academia. You read a paper and you use your sources, and how do you cite it? It was, New York Times, but no author. So you put the title and the date, and it's not exactly the best citation. So what we found is that these are AI generated articles. So, and this has been going on for at least 10 years that they've had this technology. So just like everything else, we're not in the club. We're finding out now some of this stuff that they've been using for years. Some of these military supercomputers, they've been doing it. If you look at the CERN super collider, those things are moving so fast. There's no way that we could keep up with those particles that they're smashing into each other. But the AI does it. And it can, adjust the magnetons and everything as they're going around to control the particles. And, that's one of those things where, great, I'm glad that we're able to have this ability. But let's say, like we see ChatGPT, that it's left leaning. You're a new political candidate, let's say on the right or independent, and all of a sudden there's this slanderous, libelous article written about you in a periodical. Mm-hmm. And you say, well, who is this guy who wrote this? I'm going to come after him. This is just straight lies. And there's nobody to come after. So if you think about it, this is intellectual property. But to who does it belong? Is it to the AI? Is it to the publisher? How do you defend yourself?
Yeah, I understand that. But it doesn't come from the AI. It has to come from someone's mind. Because I don't believe, does an AI think for itself?
Sort of. It has a backbone in the back that's programmed that kind of tells it how to piece information together. But they have risen to the level where they're thinking, they're learning, and they're making decisions similar to the human mind.
Listen, I know it's out there. I sincerely believe that this everything is driven by man. There's no way this could even exist. The information that they get, where the hell do they get the information? Where does AI get information from? It has to be from a source.
Yeah. So,
and that source, if you take that source and you track it all the way back, where did that source originate from? Where did that? You see what I'm saying? Am I like off the wall here?
No, I agree with you. See, ChatGPT is limited by its creators, right? So that it only has access to the data and the data sets that they approve and they provide it. But there's other AIs that are out there that we just don't know much about because it's not really public, that are, the internet is their playground. They go and they can go into whatever. They can actually go into a chat, like one of these, remember chats from back in the day, and
Yeah.
they could communicate with people, and you would never know that you were talking to an AI.
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, think about, remember the little paperclip, the Microsoft paperclip that would show up on
Sure.
the screen?
Right.
I mean, that was a long time ago,
Mm.
but that's when it was getting started. Now your phone knows what you're going to type before you type it. You know, um, Things like that. It's advancing at a very, very fast rate, and we're not even talking yet about robots and androids and that kind of stuff. Imagine when you have a cleaning robot that's not just a little vacuum that kind of bumps into stuff and goes around, but when it has your house fully mapped and it can vacuum and mop, which already exists, it can dust for you, it can stand up, walk around, cook dinner. you know this is like the Jetsons.
Yeah. So it'll make us lazier than we are now.
Yeah.
That's
And
my feeling. The less we do, the more time we have to like, woo, just it. Dude, I have to tell you, I'm a complete pessimist when it comes to this. But then again, I'm an
I
old
agree.
fogey.
No, but
You
the
know.
positive spin, right? You see the lazy side, but somebody else will say, "Oh, but it makes you more efficient. You're able to work on whatever you're doing. You're able to spend time with your kid." So this is the way they spin it as a positive
Oh, of
thing, and in
course.
some ways it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
you
You can
know.
spin it. It's funny
But
because the notes you sent me
mhm.
talk about relationships.
Oh, yeah, it
And,
gets weird.
I'll just read. I'll just read what you sent here. It says people already have app girlfriends. Dude, really? Do
Isn't
they
that
do they
crazy?
take them out to dinner and go to a movie and go to a ball game? Give me a break. And sex machines. I love that one. Okay.
Did you?
I don't even want to get into that. Imagine when androids can replace a partner or wearable sex machines.
So these things are already out there. But like I said earlier, we're not in the club. Not that I want to be in that club, but they have these things already. They put on a headset and they're in another world, and they have like some hot chick or whatever, and they got something on their areas that are taking care of it. And what else do you need? Now they're really not going to leave their home. They got to imagine, if we fast forward a little bit, they got an android cooking dinner for them. They got this thing taking care of them. They're in another world here. They're never going to leave the house. They're never going to get anything done. It's like you said, the epitome of
Wow.
laziness.
Wow. Wow.
Scary.
I don't know where the sex part comes in. Because how can you have some sort of meaningful relationship or sex with a machine? Well, I guess there are guys who can do that. You
Hmm.
know.
They already do
Uh,
it. They buy these like what do you call them? Like not like a blow up doll. That's kind of like a joke, right? But like they have these like other things that are like more realistic, and there's people that are into that.
well, yeah, but there's people that are into anything. There's people that are into bestiality. Yeah, it's a small portion of the population, but
Yeah.
you can't go by that. It's just like I just don't get it. You something that caught my eye here. You said something about art and music. That AIs
Yes.
can already produce amazing works of art in seconds, and same with music and stuff like that. But where's the emotion?
Yeah.
Some of
There's
the
none.
great and most beautiful songs that have ever been written have a meaning. There's emotions behind them, the emotions of love, of sadness. You know, how can a machine? It has to be
Yeah.
fed by a human,
It lacks all that.
right?
It can fake it, but it's not going to be the same. But it's pretty amazing. You tell this. I don't have access to that. The AI that does art. There's a few of them, but you could tell it, I want you to draw me a painting of, one that I saw was Super Mario in ancient times, and boom, it draws it for you. And you could give it more complicated inputs, and it does these amazing works of art right there, just like ChatGPT spits it out in text. It just starts working, and it's some of these things are amazing. And the same thing with music. So even ChatGPT, you can ask it, write me a song about this, um, in the style of Tupac, and bam, it'll do it for you.
So what is that going to do to musicians?
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
think about it for a second. How can someone say, well, they create this beautiful piece of music they wrote? How do they know whether that person really wrote it from their gut or through
Well,
some sort of experience?
has
You
this
know,
already been happening?
maybe.
Are they spitting these things out? We already know that most of the artists that you actually see, they didn't write whatever they're singing or, rapping or whatever. Somebody else wrote it. Maybe that somebody else is an AI and we just don't know any
Mm.
better.
How long have AIs, did you say, have been around? Do you know?
So the news ones, I could trace them back to 10 years, but I know that they've been playing with this since the 80s, the
Yeah,
military supercomputers.
as you know, I'm an avid music fan. My wife has a music conservatory, and I've been involved with music for almost 40 years. Um, and I'll tell you, and I'm a firm believer. I'll say some of the kids get pissed off at me, but this is why I felt that uh, music nowadays, from the 90s to this point, is just taking a turn for the worst. And they say, well, you say that because you grew up in the 50s and the 60s. That may be true, but when you listen to the old music, there's a lot of kids nowadays that they'll still listen to the old music because there's just
Yeah.
something about that old 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s, uh, you know, era that just produced beautiful music. So it would seem to me that music was written and produced by humans.
Yeah.
So maybe started in the 90s when the music started to go right.
Yeah.
It's maybe there's some sort of AI involved in that because there's no feeling. There's no feeling and emotion in music nowadays. None.
Um, yeah, I think in the mainstream music for sure. But like I love some country that's coming out nowadays.
Hmm.
That's what I listen to mostly. But yeah, all this it's already computerized. Like they're not even playing instruments anymore.
It's
Some of this
awful.
mainstream. Yeah, it's
It's
all
awful.
done on the computer.
Yeah,
And who knows? Maybe it's a couple of AIs doing it.
could be. Listen, let's move on. Education. You mentioned something about education.
Yeah.
Kids nowadays, they don't even have to think anymore.
Yeah. So like when I was probably right around middle school, I guess, right before high school, Wikipedia came out and it changed everything. Like we talked about writing a report earlier. Imagine if you had to write a report and you go to the internet, you go to Google or back then Yahoo or whatever, and you search for whatever, and Wikipedia comes up and you go, this is perfect. I got my paper right here. So
Hmm.
copy, paste, print it out. It's middle school, high school. So you don't need sources. You don't even know what those are.
Right.
You turn it in, you get an A. That was amazing. And that worked for a couple of years. People did that until the teachers found out, right? And then they started requiring some sources. And I remember at that level, like the high school level, you had to print your source if it was from the internet and bring it in so that they could look at it, right?
Right.
And then by the time you get to college, now everything has to be sourced
Right.
and cited. And basically, then they started doing the plagiarism testing where they upload it to a website and it gets, tagged, whatever percent plagiarism.
Hmm.
And now, I mean, this is going to revolutionize the way school is done. Because now, let's say they want you to write a paper, are they going to make you go somewhere and do it in person? Because that's the only way of confirming
Right.
that it's you. And I get into it, in my notes, it's a little bit later on, but it kind of starts here. So either we make you go to a testing center or writing center, whatever you want to call it, for somebody to do their research and actually be recorded or, proctored while they're doing it,
Hmm.
or you're going to have some sort of digital ID to prove that while you were on the computer, this is what you did,
Hmm.
right? And you wrote the paper. They can already do that on Microsoft Word. Most people don't know about it. I forget the setting, but you could put a setting on and it says exactly what time and what location. Everything's timestamped, like
Oh,
every
really?
line. Yeah,
Okay.
you can find that. So, I mean, is that what they're going to rely on?
Hmm.
So, and then another thing, like why unveil this technology now? That's a question that I have. Like, what is it about? Like, why right now? You know, I really don't. I haven't figured out why because they've had this for so long. But yeah, it's gonna change education entirely. I want to know something. I can ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's amazing. You also talked because just so people know, you sent me some notes on basically what you were going to cover, and here it says military applications. We have a wide
Yeah.
open border, and you asked the question: could AIs do a better job of policing that border?
Yeah. So China's already been doing stuff like this. They have these little hovering around drones, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Which they can detect your movement, they can detect your thermal signature, so they know you're there, they get up on you and they start yelling at you, that you're in an area that you're not supposed to be in, go back or whatever, and then they alert authorities, right? I don't know if you guys have seen the robot dogs that they have, that the Chinese have.
I have.
Yeah, it's pretty intimidating.
Mm.
So, and then if you look at just modern policing here in the United States, we have robots that are remote control that SWAT teams can send in with a gun on it. Now, it's the SWAT team person, the police officer that's hitting the button to take you out, but it has the ability to kill. So, I mean, it's not that much of a jump from having a SWAT team guy do it to having an AI police officer decide that it's the end for you. Now that SWAT team member or that police officer, a human, if he messes up, he's going to go to jail. He's facing all kinds of, but that AI, what are they going to delete him? And now that person is dead, and it's the family that has to, what are they going to sue the police department, the company that made the robot, the AI? Like, how does that work?
Well, from a legal standpoint, use the if you buy a product, you use a product, you buy it, and the product is defective or it causes harm, are you able to sue the manufacturer?
Yeah.
In many cases, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be the case here. It's a long shot, but I'm sure if that ever happens and somebody brings an action, I'm sure it's going to be based on something like that, vicarious liability, what they call.
Okay.
What I'm saying, that kind of thing. But I'll tell you, this is so interesting. Surveillance. The next point you brought up is surveillance. Let me tell you a quick story, and then I'll have you talk a little about surveillance. Anyway,
Okay.
no, you know what? You go ahead and talk a little bit about, and then I'll tell you this quick story. I think you're going to like this.
So before I move on to that surveillance,
okay,
I had something written here which probably should have had its own point. But so imagine AI controlled supercomputers. We've had that. We just don't know about it officially, right? But our government has that, right?
Okay.
And this is how it can kind of like network out and watch different people and different things. London actually has this, they have a camera on every corner of every street, every angle, and there's no way that they can hire enough people to actually watch these things. So they have AIs that do it. And it's so sophisticated that there's even an app, which I don't remember the name of it right now. I was going to look it up earlier and I didn't get around to it. But let's say you have a video of something and you want to know where it was filmed. If it was filmed in London, this app can figure out not only where and when it was filmed, but all different cameras that happen to catch it or a portion of it. And then they can track the people as they leave wherever this occurred, and continue filming them and showing you the film of those people. Like this, it was perpetrators that did something. You can follow them. That it goes from camera to camera to camera down the line.
I was going to say.
So that's how sophisticated it is. That you're talking facial recognition, movement recognition, and tying that across, different computers, because each of those cameras is essentially a computer. And so that's terrifying enough, but we already have that. So what about multiplied computing power? So this is something that some major software applications were doing for compiling big things. They didn't have enough computing power and they don't have access to a supercomputer. So they basically would pay people, hey, leave your computer on overnight and we're going to pay you in Bitcoin and we're going to use your computing power. And you basically do that across the world. And you essentially can build yourself a supercomputer because you have, equal or more computing power. So imagine an AI that became smart enough and networked enough to be able to access your computer, whether or not you allow it to, right? When it's not in use, and it's running whatever it's running in the background. Imagine how advanced it could become at that point when it's accessing everything and everyone. So those are just some of the scary things. It does kind of lead into this topic of surveillance.
Right.
So
right. Yeah. That is scary. Let
So
me just tell you a quick
smart.
story, because as you know, my daughter's husband, which I consider my son because I don't believe in in-laws and stuff like that. He's a great guy. I'm not going to mention his name because he's a police officer. And, he's very careful about what he says. He told me a story once that I said, you got to be kidding me, right? He said that they got a call once. He was in his patrol car, him and his buddy. They got a call that there was a disturbance at a home, domestic violence. And they respond to the call. And when they get there and they knock on the door, they open the door, the couple. And he says, listen, we got to report there's, domestic violence, whatever. And the guy said, what are you talking about? He says, yeah, we got a call. And the guy says, no, we were arguing, but, there's no, and the wife said, no, I mean, we were arguing. Anyway, the bottom line is this. They have Alexa, those little, like, hey, Alexa, turn on the lights. Alexa, do this. Alexa captured that conversation. They were arguing and sent it directly to the police station, and they sent out a bulletin. Can you imagine that shit?
That's crazy.
So when he told me that, I went home and I took my Alexa and I unplugged it from the wall and I dumped it in the garbage can. I should have smashed the hell out of it. Now think about that for a second, Jason. You talk about crazy surveillance in a private home.
Yep.
That is scary shit, my friend.
And we don't
Did you know that existed? Did you know that existed?
I heard about it, but I never seen anybody that I know or trust actually tell me a story like that.
Okay, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, ask him the next time you see him. It'll blow crazy. You away.
Hey, you know what really been freaky? If the next morning Alexa was back.
Oh shit! That would have been scary. Now I'd move. I'd get the hell out.
It's time to get out
of Dodge.
We need an exorcism.
Oh my God! So listen, you talk about what is it? The UN agenda. I think people would be very interested to hear about this because this is a worldwide movement. This isn't something just U.S. and China. This is everywhere.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about this UN thing, Agenda 21 or whatever the hell that is.
So Agenda 21 was passed in 1992, and this is according to ChatGPT.
Okay.
Because I thought it would be very interesting to get ChatGPT's point on this, and I didn't include
a left wing source.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they sugarcoat the whole thing. It's great. We're all gonna be under one world government.
Yeah.
But without reading, because it's way longer than I thought it would have been. I don't know if everybody's familiar with Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, and then you have the United Nations, and they're kind of working in concert at this point. And basically, he's got a famous saying in his New World Order book that you will own nothing and you will be happy. And this is the direction that they want to take us, where they have full control of us. And he famously says, you will eat Z-bugs. And that's where we're going.
What? You will what?
You will eat Z-bugs. You're going to eat bugs.
Z-bugs.
Z-bugs, yes.
Z-bug. You will eat Z-bugs.
It's as ridiculous as it sounds and disgusting. There's already videos of celebrities eating Z-bugs. And they have a whole, it's like a commercial. Nicole Kidman is on a stage eating crickets and...
All right. Yeah, but you know what? Hey, listen, with me, you're barking up the wrong tree. I could sit here and talk to you for hours about Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
These people are freaks.
Yeah.
They're all freaks. Don't get me started on that, Jason.
So that's their plan, a surveillance state, right? And the only way for them to do it, because, even if you think you control a person, how long can you control them for? Do you know what they're doing when they're not in front of you? But in AI, they believe can be fully controlled at all times and can give them the control that they need. So you say something against the government, bam, they shut your wallet off. You go to the supermarket, you can't buy food. Your kids are hungry now. They have total control. You look the wrong way and you're eating crickets, in other words. But let me see if I can find an interesting part here. So it says, development initiatives for the 21st century focusing on environmental protection, social equity, and economic development. Its goal is to promote global sustainable development through the integration of environmental, blah, blah, blah. It keeps going on. It's all this like woke leftist ideology. kumbaya, we're all going to be real happy and living right next to each other, on top of each other, and eating whatever they tell us. But really what it ushers in is this idea that they have of smart cities. So I read in there at the beginning, you will own nothing and you will be happy. According to ChatGPT, the phrase "you will own nothing and you will be happy" is a slogan used by the World Economic Forum to promote the concept of the Great Reset, which refers to a series of economic, social, and environmental changes aimed at addressing global challenges such as climate, less owning physical assets. World Economic Forum does not advocate for people to have no ownership or control of their lives, even though they just said that. So they always do this double speak, but everything is about totalitarian control, no democracy, no republic. You're going to do what we tell you, and you're going to do it our way. And let me see. So once they have full, go ahead.
No, I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
So it says here, once they have full control of every aspect of our lives, we will only have the illusion of freedom, but that will come along with owning nothing, eating the bugs, and compulsory everything, and anything the state wants, including vaccines and brain implants. They will know what you are thinking, what you are feeling, when, how. We're talking thought crimes, Minority Report. Remember that movie?
I remember that. I saw it the other day. I went back and saw it again. My wife hadn't seen it. Marita hadn't seen it. She saw it. It blew her mind. I said, "This is happening now. This is on the verge of happening." And by the way, when you get all these reports, I continuously heard you use the term "they." They will do this. They will do that. Who the hell are they? I know. I mean, there has to be somebody that's immune from all this and that controls and pushes the buttons. This is what pisses me off about these. Yeah. I had a conversation with someone today, a real heated conversation, to say the least. They're talking about Congress and how Congress is so necessary because they keep everything in check, but all that crap. And I say, listen, do you understand that members of Congress are exempt from a great majority of the laws that they pass?
Mm-hmm.
The laws are good for the average citizen, but not good enough for them.
Like insider trading.
And I could go on and on and on. Or I could have a deep conversation with anybody about that crap because I know my shit. You see? And it amazes. So people that espouse this theory about, the New World Order and control this and control it, they're not part of that.
No.
There has to be somebody.
They're at the bottom of it. They're just puppets.
See what I'm saying?
So
somebody has to
control
this thing.
Yeah.
Unless you say, well, it'll get to a point, and this comes full circle, that the AI will control everything and everyone.
Yeah.
But behind the AI, there has to be a human mind.
So what's interesting, because their goal, one of those little stated goals is eternity, eternal life, right?
Eternal life.
They're going about it a different way than you and me, but they want eternal life. They want to be able to upload their mind into the computer, right? And then it continue there in a, virtual reality type world or whatever.
Right.
And they continue on forever. So let's say you've got this supreme leader, whatever you want to call him, of the world, once they have this world government, and he dies. Everyone's, oh no, our leader's dead. It's, funeral, whatever. But he's not truly dead. He rises, right? Similar to the Antichrist, right? And the way he comes back on everybody's TV screens or their holographic projectors, where you can kind of see him and almost touch him, is through AI. He uploads his consciousness into the computer, and an AI then uses the input of his mind and his consciousness to continue forward. And this is their idea of eternal life. So if you could do that, why wait till you're dying? Just do it right now.
Do it now.
Put yourself in this machine like the Matrix with the thing in the back and go into the world and be happy. And that's where they're heading towards. Think about it. So if they can control what you eat, what you buy, what you can and can't say, then they can control forcing you to do certain things to your body, like put in implants and vaccines and different things, genetic engineering, whatever. What's the final step to totally controlling every single aspect about you? And that's your consciousness. So once they have access to it with the chip, imagine their supreme leader talking. And when he's talking, you can hear it. Like if it's your own thoughts,
Right.
you can feel it reverberating inside your body because of these implants that you have. It's almost like if it's a God in front of you. And this goes to a Christian conspiracy that I have stumbled on. So once they have this full control, and I put in parentheses the B system, right? One will be placed in charge. This person will be replaced by an AI, unbeknownst to most. The chips they forced on us will be able to be controlled and communicated with by this God on earth. When it speaks, we will feel it speaking through us and into us. We will be connected to pods that will maintain our vital signs and feed us while bringing our consciousness into an artificial world. This is the final element of control. As is written in the Bible, people will wish for death, but will not find it. Is this the mark of the beast? Is that when they have full control of us and our consciousness, is that the mark of the beast that we would be accepting?
That's very interesting. As you know, I'm a Christian, right? So I can get into a very deep conversation about that, but not to do that at this time. I would venture to say, Jason, that people have been controlled for many, many, many years. Ever since man began his journey on this earth, they have been controlled in one way or another. It's getting worse. Now, people say, well, no, I do what I want. Nobody controls me. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. You're being controlled, and you're being controlled in ways that you never even thought you're controlled. If you go to work every day for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, you are being controlled.
Yeah.
Are you not?
You are.
You're being told what to do, what time to get in, what time, you're being controlled, and it could go on and on. We are totally controlled. We're controlled. And then when we're not controlled by our boss, we're controlled by all of the outside forces. For example, I look at the entertainment industry. I think it's a farce.
Yeah.
I think the entertainment industry is designed to keep us entertained, but not in an entertainment sort of way. Is to keep us distracted, and to control us, so we don't have time to think about all the crap that's going on in our lives and how they're really shafting us. That's people spend money they don't have to go to football games to watch these overpaid athletes. I'm not criticizing the athletes, because if they can get paid for that's. But you see, we are controlled in so many ways that we don't think we're being controlled, but we're being controlled. We don't have. Everybody says we have the freedom of choice in this country. We don't have any choice in this country. We have more choice than in other countries.
Yeah.
But we don't. They tell us what to do in every single facet of our lives. If they don't want us to do a certain thing, they just pass a law that says you can't do a certain thing. And then most people will respect the law because they're afraid of the consequences. So I could go on and on, but you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I truly believe this, because I believe that that we're approaching the end, my friend. I know that sounds, oh my God, you're a conspiracist and you're crazy and crap like that. But,
I agree.
right? I mean, they've taken this to a level now. When they can start hearing and surveying you, every aspect of your life, we're in trouble.
Yeah, and they already have satellites that can, all the way from space, they can listen to what you're talking about in your house.
Yeah.
But what do they need that for? If you have a trader, look at this trader that I have right here, right? Your phone is in your pocket, and they can access it whenever they want.
Right.
They can pinpoint you with your GPS.
Mm-hmm.
They can listen to you. They can see what you've looked up online. They can do whatever they want. And, we've seen this over the last few years, where it became apparent that you can't deny it any longer, that our own intelligence agencies in our country are being used against the people. And what is that going to develop into when they have this new power, this AI that can do so much more than, an agency can do? Mm-hmm. How are they going to weaponize this further against us? And we're at a time when, at least to me, it really seems like we're under attack. We got, the Chinese balloon. We got whatever they're calling UFOs that they were shooting down. We have, 4 derailed trains right now. The one in Ohio, who had the bright idea of lighting it on fire? That was just a great idea, buddy. you spread that into everywhere to the Mississippi River, I believe,
You're
and it's in the
absolutely right.
groundwater. So something's got to give at some point. We blew up this pipeline apparently. Did you know about
Right.
that one? The Nord Stream 2?
The Nord Stream too. Yeah, I heard
Yeah.
about that.
So
But you see, most people don't know about any of this stuff. You know why, Jason? Because they're too busy. Their lives are such a mess,
yeah,
and they work so hard that the little time that they have, they want to spend with their kids. They want to go to ball games. This is how we're distracted. They want to go watch a movie. They sit in front of a TV and watch movies. They don't know what's going on in the world,
yeah. And think
right?
about how much information and things there are on the internet that you can learn from and you can do. And the biggest bulk of all of the internet is porn.
That's amazing.
It's
That's
crazy.
amazing.
I think it's like 70%, some crazy number like that of the internet.
That's crazy.
Like,
Yeah.
so that's why when these people get a robot that, you put it on or whatever, they're never going to leave the house. This is what they do. They don't know anything.
Sure. Sure.
They're looking at, sexual content. And then what? They go watch like the Housewives or like one of those nonsense shows. And
Yeah.
like you said, it's just dumb entertainment. It's not engaging at all.
Well, it's to keep your mind in a constant mush.
Yeah.
Because, my wife and I we don't watch American movies anymore. This has been a while now, for like over a year. We watch it. International movies now are so much better than American movies.
It's amazing.
So much better. Hollywood is just taking a turn for the worst. Look at what's going on with Disney World and stuff like that. Hey, listen, we could talk about this stuff forever. But anyway, we got to get going. This is a hell of a subject. I think we got to pick it up. There's so many little nuances that we can talk about.
Yeah.
And by the way, let me put this up. If you want to know, if you're a Christian or you're thinking about whether God exists or not, I wrote a book, and I'm going to promote this now because I have to promote my own book, right, Jason?
Yeah.
And it's up on the screen now. It's called You and the Master. And basically what it talks about is Jesus had 3 years to change the world, to come and give his message. And he was here for 3 years. We can't finish high school in 3 years. And every single word that came out of his mouth had a meaning. And, I dissected the New Testament through the Sermon on the Mount and basically explain every single word that came out of his mouth had a meaning. And it's very interesting, at least from my point of view. I don't know, not many people have read it. I just put it out, but it teaches people to really look at things from Jesus's perspective. Whether you view Jesus as a savior, whether you view him as a philosopher, whatever you view him, he's probably, would you agree that he's the most recognizable person in the history of mankind?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, somewhere along the line, and my whole thing is we all follow someone in life. We all follow someone or something, and I make my case, why not follow him? Because he made sense in everything I said. So, but this Christian part, Jason, I think it's extremely interesting, because if you do read the New Testament and you read Revelations, it's kind of scary, don't you think?
Yeah.
Everything that's going on.
And it's kind of falling. It's almost like when they got these visions, they didn't understand what they were looking at, so they described them as best they could. But they describe these shining cities, and they don't know what they're looking. Imagine you've never seen a building, let alone skyscrapers, and they describe it all getting destroyed and very rapidly. And even Jesus said when he returns, it'll be like in the days of Noah. And those weren't good days. Everybody was swimming,
Yeah, that was not a good time. Not a good, except for Noah. And
yeah, Noah was smart.
Yeah,
They thought he was a crazy conspiracy theorist.
All right, man. Jason, this has been awesome. So I invite people to come back and listen. We're going to pick up a lot of these themes, these little themes that we talked about. Let's pick up on stuff like that. I want to pick your brain, because you're a very, very smart guy, and you've got some great insight on a lot of this stuff. So if any of you have a question or you want to shoot out to us, the email will be right under here, or is right under there. I'm not sure if they'll do it in post-production, but the email will be there. Just shoot us out an email and join us for our next episode. Jason, any final words?
Yeah, I wanted to actually show you guys some ChatGPT asking ChatGPT some questions so you guys can see the output, the way it works.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, we
Go
got
for
so
it.
caught up, forgot about it. Oh, you want to
Yeah,
see
no,
some?
go for it.
All right, let me see if I can figure out how to do this
You want to
screen
explain
sharing.
briefly? You may have done this at the beginning. Explain briefly what GPT is.
So this is a chat bot, right? It's an AI, and you can ask it questions, and it will give you extremely detailed answers. And then, if you know, some of it could be a little bit generic, but if you ask more and more specific, it'll give you extremely specific stuff. So let me get into the share. All right.
And this site is available to anyone?
Yeah, it used to be a little easier to get to, but now everybody's on it. So sometimes you might go to it and it'll tell you that it's full basically. So
Okay.
I have a login already, so I'm able to get in it whenever I want. So so this is just a brand new chat, an empty one, right? And I
Mhm.
can type in here whatever questions I want. But
Ask
I'm
it a
going to
question.
take you back. You want me to ask it one?
Yeah,
Okay.
just ask it anything. Is the
Okay.
world flat?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I would imagine now it's thinking.
So usually it spits out faster than that. Okay, there it goes.
There you go. The world is not flat. Well, I know some people that will certainly disagree with that.
So do I.
Yeah. That's supported
It's
by
pretty
vast
cool.
amount of evidence is that the Earth is a roughly spherical shape with a slight bulge at the equator. And look at this.
As impressive as this is that it's spitting this out, it's usually way faster. So it must be really busy right now with a lot of people on it.
Could be.
And then see it auto named it Earth is not flat. So see how we asked it, is the Earth flat? And then it changed it to Earth is not flat. So it
Oh,
kind
I
of,
gotcha.
yeah, it gives it
It,
its little spin.
yeah, it turned it into a statement of fact.
Exactly. It doesn't
Not a
want you to
question.
even think the other way.
Yeah.
So then, like some of the stuff that I talked about earlier, and I had my notes on, it was direct questions that I had asked ChatGPT before. So if we're gonna eat the bugs, it's all here. And I already knew this stuff, but I was just very interested, especially when I found out that ChatGPT had some liberal bias. I wanted to see what it would say. So what do you think? You want another question?
Well, yeah. Here's a question I want you, because you say this is left leaning. Ask him: Is Joe Biden senile? We know he's a dick, but I just want to know if he's senile.
No, there's no evidence. Wow. Now we're gonna ask the same
You
question,
see, yeah,
but
you
on
see,
another person.
I would answer that a totally different way. Well, that depends. Nobody's done a cognitive test on them. That kind of stuff. No,
Yeah.
there's no evidence. There's no evidence.
I
GPT,
think
have you
there's
looked at some of his press conferences?
and see what it
Have you
got
looked
named? Biden not see now.
Biden not senile? I don't know what to tell you, buddy.
Let's flip it now. Is Donald Trump senile? Oh, see? Can't diagnose anyone with a medical condition, but it could very well tell you that Joe Biden's not.
Exactly. Dude, this is why I'm telling you, behind this stuff, there has to be human minds. There just has to be. This goes back to my initial point. You can't. Oh my God Almighty!
Wasn't that interesting? So it's a wealth of knowledge, but like everything else, it's got its bias. We have ours too.
Yeah, but you know what the problem is? That we've been around for a while. You see, you kids
more
go
than
in
me.
there and ask it a question, and they believe that whatever that thing says,
Yeah.
they believe it is the gospel.
It's got
truth.
expert power in their minds.
There you go.
Yeah.
So the influential power that it has over our youth, our kids, is astronomical.
Yeah.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
You can get to that whole new.
We could go on for another hour on that one.
Oh, I'm telling you, man. Anyway, folks, so thanks for tuning in, and we'll be popping out these episodes 2 or 3 a week for now, and we'll pick it up from here. This episode on artificial intelligence, Jason, has opened up a lot of questions, a lot of other topics that we can get into, so I look forward to doing that. So if you have any closing comments, go for it. We're out of here.
No, where's this going to lead? How is our life going to be impacted going forward.
Yeah. Well, it's already impacted to such a degree. It's unbelievable. It does not bode well. Let me put it to you that way. From my humble point of view, it does not bode well. But you see, here's the problem. Because of my age, I can compare what's going on now, because you're less than half my age.
Mm-hmm.
You're a young man. I got kids older than you.
Yeah.
You see, I can compare today's world to the world back in the 50s, the 60s. I have a reference point that I can use.
Right.
Kids today that are in their 20s, their teens in their 20s, they don't have a reference point.
No, they don't.
Their reference point sucks.
Yeah.
You see? You see what I'm saying? So this is why this is why they're so vulnerable to all this crap that's being thrown out there.
Yeah.
And this is not a left wing, right wing thing. This is just facts. This is the truth. This is why we call this show You and the Truth, face to face, because what we do is we bring people the truth, we give it to them, and then here you are face to face with the truth. Now, what you do with it really is up to you.
Yeah.
But, when you're faced with something, you tend to think back and say, well, wait a minute, let me compare that. Kids today don't have a point of reference to compare it to.
Yeah. So like the trans thing, you could consider to be controversial, and if you're on this side or that side. But there's one area that I think shouldn't be so controversial, that just shows the attack that they have on our kids right now. Mm-hmm. Have you seen these like fur kids or furries? You know what this is?
No.
These kids that they think they're animals, like girls that think they're cats, so they act like a cat.
I heard about that. Yes, I heard about that.
So I mean, regardless of where whoever's watching this is, on that spectrum of whatever this is, I mean, there's something wrong with that. That's not normal.
Hold that thought, because we're going to do an episode on that.
Awesome.
That's a very interesting subject, and I've got someone who is an expert. He's a child psychologist.
Oh, wow.
That I would love to bring him on to talk about this, because that's a tremendously interesting subject. And I think, this is just before we leave, I believe they've overstepped their bounds. These people that are trying to change society, they've overstepped. There's one thing you don't mess with. Yeah. There's one thing in this world you do not mess with, and that is mothers. Don't mess with mothers and their kids. You can mess with anything else, dude. That's sacred territory. Now, there's always exceptions and some nuts, but the average mother, don't mess with their kids, man. You can mess with everything. You can mess with their husbands. Man, don't mess with the kids. And I think they step. Look at Disney. Disney's in deep shit.
Yeah,
deep shit. You see,
it's ridiculous. They
don't mess with the kids.
7,000 employees. No,
they're in deep shit. I'm not sure they'll recover from this.
Like a slow decline.
Billions of dollars. Yep. Okay, buddy. Always good talking to you. We'll pick it up next time. And if you have a message, just send it to us, and we'll see you next time. Awesome. And remember, you just come face to face with the truth. What you do with it is up to you. See you next time.
You have just come face to face with the truth. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and hit that bell so you will be notified when we drop new episodes.